grade 8 students. I am Miss Alexander, your social studies teacher. Welcome to lesson 5. Today we are continuing with the previous topic and we will be looking at a new subtopic called the legislative. You will recall that in the previous session I did introduce 3 branches of government to you and the legislative was one of them. So that is what our lesson will be based on for today. Now, if you are joining us for the first time in this lesson, I will encourage you to mark off Chapter 5 in your New Horizon Book 2. After today's lesson, you can visit that chapter to have an understanding of what some of the previous lessons were based on. For our friends rejoining us today, we are going to go into a quick recap to see what they remember. And hopefully for those of you who are joining us for the first time, you too would be able to catch on and to see a glimpse of what we did in the previous session. All right, so let's start the recap by doing some true or false questions. The first question: branches of government is the term used to refer to the organizational structure of government. Branches of government is the term used to refer to the organizational structure of government. Is it true or false? Think quickly. All right, if you said true, that is correct. Good job. Let's move into our second question. One of the branches of government can control all power in a democratic system at any point in time. Listen keenly. One of the branches of government can control all power in a democratic system at any point in time. Is that statement true or is it false? All right, if you said false, you are correct. The statement is indeed false. Good job. Now let's move into our fill in the blank questions. So listen to this one and you're going to fill it in by giving the correct answer. The something is the body known as the executive branch of government. The something is the body known as the executive branch of government. What is the correct answer? Remember, I did introduce you to a word that you're quite familiar with because it is an item that you may be able to find in your home. However, the term is used differently when we speak of branches of government, particularly the executive. All right, if you said cabinet, you are correct. Good job. I'm very proud of you. All right, let's move into our final question. Listen keenly. The executive branch of government is headed by the executive branch of government is headed by we spoke about this the last time. All right, if you said the president, you are correct. Good job. Oh, so we have a third question. So let's take this one. One of the 3 important functions performed by cabinet is? One of the 3 important functions performed by cabinet is? Now, there are 3 possible answers that you are provided with. So think quickly about it. Which one do you recall? Which function of cabinet do you recall? All right. So, you might have said either to decide on appropriate policies or strategies it would employ to develop the country, or to present policies or strategies to Parliament, or to defend these policies and strategies in Parliament. If you said any of those three, you are correct. I'm very proud of you that you remembered some of our key points from the previous lesson. Now let's go into today's lesson. And like I mentioned, we will be looking at the legislative. During this lesson, you may want to pay keen attention to certain concepts used, such as legislative, parliament, and national assembly. In this lesson, you will be given taken-away activities to complete. It may require you to work independently or to seek assistance of someone else, or perhaps even checking online for information. These activities are aimed to help you have a better understanding of the concepts and apply the topic to our society. So let's move into today's session. What are the objectives? Students should be able to 1. Demonstrate an understanding of and explain the composition of Parliament, and 2. List and explain the functions of Parliament. So let's look at the composition of Parliament. Our Parliament is unicameral. That is, it has one house. Trinidad and Tobago's legislature, for example, has an upper house and a lower house, and its parliament is therefore referred as bicameral. So remember that there is a key distinction between a unicameral legislature and a bicameral legislature. And here in Guyana, we have a unicameral legislature. The Constitution or the laws of Guyana provide for a parliament to have 53 elected members from national elections, as well as 10 elected members from the regional democratic councils, 1 from each administrative region, and 2 from the National Congress of Local Democratic Organs. The President may also appoint non-elected members to Parliament, which are referred to as technocrats. You may remember that we spoke of technocrats in one of our previous lessons. There is no fixed number of technocrats appointed to Parliament. The number may vary from time to time. So let's look at this example. Composition of Parliament after the 1997 national elections was: elected representatives, 53 members; Regional Democratic Council, 10 members; the National Congress of Local Democratic Organs, 2 members; non-elected members referred to as technocrats, 10 members; and the Speaker of the National Assembly, 1 member. So in total, at that point in time, Parliament was comprised of 76 members. Let's move on. The members of the National Assembly may be identified as 1. The Speaker of the National Assembly, 2. Cabinet members. And you would recall that we mentioned cabinet members in the previous lesson while looking at the executive. And 3. Members of the minority parties. And we also made mention of members of minority parties before. The President is not a member of the National Assembly or Parliament. However, the Speaker can invite him or her to address Parliament, and we would have seen this in many instances before. The President has power to prolong the life of Parliament, as well as dissolve it and call for elections. You will learn more about the unicameral legislature and the stages for a bill to become law in grade 9. So let's take an activity right now. After today's session, you're going to find out who is the current Speaker of the National Assembly. You're going to also research on 3 of the duties of the Speaker. Now, I would like for you to ensure that you complete this and note it. So you may remember from previous lessons that I would have encouraged you to ensure that you also research on the website of the Parliament of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. So, boys and girls, I encourage you, go there. The website has a lot of information that you may need and that would be useful for our lessons as we continue with this topic. So let's move on. We're going to now look at functions of Parliament. Parliament performs two important functions. Firstly, it makes laws. Through the Speaker of the House, who chairs the proceedings, the ruling party presents issues for debate or lawmaking. Members of the opposition may suggest alternatives or give their support to the making of the law. A policy which is debated in Parliament is called a bill. Before a bill becomes a law, it must be debated on 3 different occasions, thus providing the opportunity for special committee and all members of Parliament to research and be familiar with the nature of the bill. At each sitting, suggestions are entertained in order to modify or clarify interpretations of the bill. The President must append his or her signature before the bill becomes law. Parliament does not only make laws, it can also amend existing laws or repeal old laws as well. The second major function of Parliament is to debate and approve the National Assembly. The Minister of Finance must present a budget within 90 days of the new year. After a thorough debate, the budget is normally approved and it becomes law. In addition to the national budget, Parliament also considers debates and approves of supplementary budgets during the year. So here's another activity for you. Can you name the Minister of Finance? Think about it. Have you been listening to the news? Or have you been looking at any of the parliamentary sittings? All right, so here's some information for you. In fact, the government has 2 ministers who are responsible for finance. The senior finance minister is the Honorable Dr. Ashni Singh, and the Honorable Bishop Juan Edghill, as the Minister of Public Works, also has responsibility for finance. So there you have it. All right. Here is another takeaway activity for you. So ensure that you have your pencils and your books close by if you hadn't before, so that you may take this activity. Research for these ministers online that I would have just mentioned and get a copy of their photo and paste it and label it in your book so you may be familiar with who they are. I would also like for you to identify one issue that was previously debated in Parliament. You may do your research, see what issues were debated before with what was brought up before Parliament, and you may take note of that. All right, so we are now into our wrap-up session for today. Let's look at some of the key things that we would have learned as we looked at the topic of the legislative. Number 1, Guyana's parliament is unicameral. That means it has only one house. The Constitution or the laws of Guyana provides for Parliament to have 53 elected members from the national elections. Number 3, technocrats are non-elected members to Parliament. They are appointed by the President. 4, Parliament performs 2 important functions. 1, it makes laws, and 2, it debates and approves the national budget. 5, a policy which is debated in Parliament is called a bill. And 6, the Minister of Finance presents the budget to Parliament. Well, students, this has brought us to the end of today's lesson. I'm enjoying our learning experience together as we look at the different aspects of how our country is governed. We will learn more about another branch of government in our next lesson. Now, do remember to complete the activities that were given. I am Miss Alexander saying bye for now and see you in the next lesson.